Well, guys, let's get started here. We'll just kick people in as we go. All right. First off, how many of you guys have attracted somebody in the last 30 days? Nice. Anybody got more than two or three? Alan. Nice. How many do you get total? Five? Sorry, I'm not very good at reading lips. I think he just said I want a hamburger.
Yeah, dude, 25.
I might be hungry.
25?
No, that's our total organization. We didn't get 25 in the last 30 days.
Gotcha. How many personal did you get in the last 30 days?
Two.
Two. Good. Anybody north of two so far? Nobody north of two? All right. Alan, how'd you get them?
Uh, One was a former student. I have the advantage of being the licensing instructor in our community.
Nice.
I get to see tomorrow's talent first.
Nice. So are you alarmed by that or are you excited by that?
I'm excited about it. I've been doing it 10 years. It gets to be long at the end of the class. It creates a need for more bourbon.
Yeah.
But it really is an opportunity to see tomorrow's superstars first.
Yeah.
The other one came through a personal referral.
Okay, good. So what does a personal referral look like to you? Like what is describe that?
It's an existing agent on our team had someone reach out to them and say, I'm interested in real estate or I'm interested in EXP. I don't remember the specifics of that individual because that's been several weeks now.
Yeah.
But and my team member said, that is a great question.
Recording in progress.
Let me introduce you to Alan.
That
And
is the best.
from there.
That is the best thing when that happens, right?
Yeah.
One of my favorite things in the world. That means you're doing a lot of stuff right. So when we go back and coach brokerages, when I went back and coached brokerages, had 28 offices at one point, and each one of those offices had somebody responsible for the managing and growth of that office. And it was kind of interesting when we started to figure out like the people that were getting the most people were actually touching the most people, and their people were bringing them in. So what we find out early on was that we teach people how to do recruiting. We talk about doing recruiting. We talk about doing the activities of recruiting. But really, when push came to shove, the majority of the people we had joining the brokerage were joining the brokerage because one of the agents had done business with them, and they were referring them to be on that team also, or be in that brokerage also. So when we look at the way normal brokerages grow and normal brokerage offices grow, many times our people are our greatest leverage. So when we started taking those people and actually teaching them how to intentionally leverage their team and get referrals from their team, their numbers went up astronomically. So from a month-to-month basis, instead of having one here, one there, the activities that the manager was doing was specific to getting them people for themselves coming in the door. And then if you didn't have people referring other people to you consistently, either every month or every other month at least, if you didn't have that going on, then it was a super giant red flag for me to ask the question, what are you doing for your current people? Because if you're doing the right stuff for your current people are more likely to grab people by the face and drag them to your office and say, that's the guy you got to work with. Cheryl is the most amazing person in the world. Cheryl helped change my life. You're in the same spot I was. Let me introduce you to her. And they would drag them into us. Okay.
Russ,
we didn't always get them, but we
Russ,
got a lot.
one of the things we're doing, we're part of our team is part of the Platinum Group, which is about 4 levels down from Tom Trong. We had Tom Trong come on to our bi-monthly meeting yesterday, and he was talking about how to present the model and how to engage people and how to do a third-party call. And I've got a lot of newer people on my team. We're all new to EXP because we've only been here since March 1st. But I've also got some people who are newer to business, the real estate business. And I'm saying, look, I don't want you to explain EXP. I just want you to be sensitive to somebody saying, I'm either interested in a career in real estate or I'm interested in doing it at a different place than I am now. Yeah. And I'm saying, I don't want you to know any more than that.
Yeah.
And at that point, you just let me know and then we'll talk to you. I think recruiting, attraction, whatever, to our team members sometimes becomes this overwhelming thing that they are afraid of. Yeah. And I'm trying to not be afraid of it. just have your radar on. That's all I want you to do.
Yeah, and I think that's brilliant advice for most of your people. So when we look back and say who are the best recruiters, the best attractors, it's all over the map, right? So if you say, Russ, show me, she's like, I'm going to tell you them and their history and their background and what they do and where they are, and then you tell me what you think they're going to be, whether they're going to be a success or not. I mean, we had a lady named Lori Neiman. I don't know, Cheryl Hoke, you might remember broker Lori Neiman. She was with the Prudential Network forever in Port Richey. And I will say this, and I can confidently say this, and most people would never argue at all if you met her. She's batshit crazy. Not a little bit. All the way batshit crazy. So here's the thing, guys. You ought to meet her team. You ought to meet everybody in her. Almost every single person in her brokerage was batshit crazy too. So that batshit nut absolutely attracted the craziest people you'd ever meet. And they did a bunch of business. And it was mind-boggling. And I'd sit with Lori and be like, you guys are nuts. And she's like, uh-huh. And they're all nuts, just like you. And she's like, uh-huh. And I'm like, how in the world do you put up? But they're like, they found their freaking tribe, right? They had the weirdest tribe of weird people you'll ever meet. And this goes for real estate agents also. We had a guy we nicknamed Eeyore in our office. And it was, by the way, the reason he got Eeyore is because we had the other guy's name we nicknamed him Tigger. Because every time you walk by him, he's like, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? He'd say that like 800 times during the day. Every time he walked past my office, he'd walk by. And if I happened to glance over to see who it was, he'd say, how you doing? Every time. And that would happen 10 times, 15, 20 times a day, right? So we just nicknamed him Tigger. He was just the happiest damn dude you ever met, right? And then, of course, Eeyore, if you guys remember the story, Eeyore was the grumpiest, grouchiest. If anything could happen bad and wrong, it would hit him, right? And it was literally everything, guys. This is a true story. Ready? It's hard to believe. Standing at the front of the office, and that was where the administrative people or paperwork was. We had paper files. This is to like 2007, 8, right? And during that time, there was a sandhill crane. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a sandhill crane, but they're like a miniature ostrich, right? They're super tall things, cool little red around their eyeballs and this giant beak on them, right? So sad part of the story is sandhill cranes will mate for life. So what happens is if one of the sandhill cranes, if the mate dies, the sandhill crane is completely lost. So what had happened with this thing is obviously the mate had gotten lost or died or something. And the sandhill crane was walking back and forth up and down in front of the strip mall because all of the strip mall offices had reflective windows. So the sandhill crane saw its reflection and didn't feel like it was alone or what. I don't know what's going through this brain of the bird, but it was a fairly common thing to have happen. The bird would just kind of just stay and be able to see its reflection so it didn't feel alone. I know, it rips your heart out, right? So here's the thing. This bird went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth for like 3 days straight. People go in and out of the door. They go down to the little store. They come back. They go in and out of the door, back and forth and back and forth. On day 3, Tony walks up to the front of the office and he's like, hey guys, I'm going to go over to whatchamacallit and grab something. Do you want anything? This Eeyore was a super nice dude. Okay. He goes out the front door and walks about 15, 20 feet away. And this sandhill crane comes after him like something out of an effing nightmare. Like 6 foot plus wingspan. It's like, he's got this giant sewing machine freaking beak. And he's like, doink, 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 and he's jabbing freaking Tony. Tony turns around, he comes, opens the door, slams the door back closed, and he stands there. He's like, you're not going to freak. Did you see that? And I was like, dude, I was watching the whole thing. That was hilarious. I mean, that was disgusting. That was horrible. The next thing out of his mouth. Can you believe that happened to me? And I was like, yes, I can. Right in my head, I'm like, yeah, dude, because you're the guy that's like, if you could have the worst buyer ever, he had him. If you could have the worst seller ever, he had him. All of his customers were just complete train wrecks from end to end. And he's always moping around the office like, man, you're not going to believe it. I can't believe this just keeps happening to me. And I was like, Tony, do you know what the law of attraction is? And he's like, I know, man. I'm positive up here. I'm like, yeah, but let your mouth know. Like, get your mouth to understand that, right? Because it's
Right.
like, you can think all you want, but what you're saying is like, holy crap, right? So he just ran around the office, just like, "Are you not going to believe this? This keeps happening. This happened again. The deal's blowing up again." And that's exactly how he talks. So when he goes outside, this bird hadn't messed with anybody. But Tony goes out the door and this bird comes at him, right? And it's like, that's the kind of stuff that we attract. So when we're talking to agents and we're talking to brokerages and we're managing offices and we're managing teams, be careful what you attract. But you're most likely to attract the things that are most likely to be attracted to you, right? Like energy attracts like energy. The super happy, enthusiastic people typically have super happy, enthusiastic people around them a lot, right? So as we're going through this process, Alan, you are going to attract the people that are going to be most like what you want, right? So Tom Trong has his way of doing attraction. So Tom has, and by the way, Alan, I don't know if you know, I'm directly in Tom's family tree. So uh, I was Tom's boss at one point. Ask him. Funny story.
That was a handful.
He's a handle. He's a handful and a half, right? So, but his way of doing things is his way of doing things. So what you have to do is you have to find your flavor. So think of yourself as a chef. What are you going to be known for? Have you guys ever seen a show called Beat Bobby Flay? Since I fly all over the place, I just kind of happen to get stuck on this thing because of just a nice distraction in the background when I'm flying around and fiddling with whatever I'm fiddling with. So they basically bring two people in. Those people cook something against each other in like a 45-minute format. Then the two judges choose which one they want to go up against Bobby Flay. Bobby Flay's arguably, well, they call him what the king of flavor, the master of flavor, right? This guy layers flavor on top of flavor on top of flavor. That's what he's known for, right? So then they'll take these two people, whoever wins, whoever they choose, they put them up against Bobby Flay. And here's how it goes. Bobby will say, okay, so what's your signature dish? And that person is going to cook their signature dish. And Bobby has no idea what he's getting into, has to go up against them with their signature dish. Now, the amount of breadth, the width and breadth of knowledge that this guy has when you're talking about just recipes, like they say blah blah blah, and they're like, "Have you ever cooked that before?" And he's like, "Nope, but I know what it's supposed to be." And sometimes he's like, "Oh yeah, no, I've done that before." So it's amazing how many different things he's done. But it's also amazing that when you take somebody and say every single person goes up against him with a different dish. See, the thing is, it's their signature dish. And when we're doing this recruiting process, this is what we got to do. So, Alan, you got to find your signature dish for recruiting and attraction. Okay. So you're going to find your avenues and the avenues that work for you. If you can't get clear on what you're doing consistently to get results, then you don't really have a dish yet. You're just kind of winging it. Okay. So we've got to get good at doing a certain thing. And then once we get good at doing a certain thing, then we can do variations of that certain thing and find the best flavors and find the best things. Like if you can get to the point where you can do chicken with a crispy outside, there's all kinds of different directions you can go with that once you master that tender chicken with a crunch on the outside. There's a bunch of different directions you can go on that. You could do it over a bed of pasta. You could do it over a bed of arugula. You could do it over a bed of jasmine rice. You can do lemon reduction sauces over the top of it. You can do white wine reduction sauces over it. You can do all kinds of interesting things with it, including capers and whatever else you want to do, right? So, but most of it's based around that one core piece, and then you build everything else around it, and you have those other supporting things that go with it. Okay, so it's really important that you kind of get clear on what your flavor is. Get clear on what you do on a daily basis. What do you do on a weekly basis? What do you do on a monthly basis? Good. So with that being said, you're going to attract what you attract.
Yep.
If you don't like what's being attracted to you, you change. I heard somebody this morning. He's like, well, Russ, I got this and I got this and I got this and I got this and I got this. Totally got it, right? So unless you do something different, you're not going to get something different. If you keep doing what you've always done, you're always going to get what you've always gotten. So in order for us to get a different result, we have to change something. And that starts here. Good. So, Alan, it's interesting. I like to see everybody's methods of doing these things because I like to see what everybody else is doing. So sometimes I might be like, you know what? I never really thought about this, but dried tomatoes in that white wine reduction sauce would be interesting because you get that little bit of bitterness and you get that little bit of tang, that little bit of zip and acidity to it to go along with the And next thing you know, you've got something that makes your recipe substantially better. Okay. So listen to Tom. Tom's got Tom's way. Tom's got Tom's recipe. He's the always be closing guy, right? And he attracts a lot of people that will always be closing guys. He's also lost people because he's pushed people really hard to be just like Tom. Okay. And that's common knowledge. He's not, it's not like, oh my God, Russ, I'm going to go tell Tom. Trust me, I know him. He knows it. He'll be like, you're right. I did. Okay. So here's the thing that we can break down, guys. There's 3 reasons why an agent's going to do something different than what they're currently doing. Do you know what that is? Do you know what those are?
Pain.
Why would somebody move? Let's make a list.
Pain.
Okay, good. Sure. What else?
Ambition.
Okay. What else?
Change.
Okay. Change.
Bored.
Okay. Bored.
Underappreciated.
Okay.
More money, more money.
What they've
Community.
been doing isn't working.
Support. Plus cash. What they're doing isn't working. Okay. So
Freedom. They don't know that yet. That's our challenge, right?
well, so yeah, I mean, here's the deal. If you ask your average agent,
Hello, Lena. How are you?
what our average agent is, hey Alex, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How have things been?
Guys are doing, we're doing great, man. Things couldn't be better. If it was any better, I'd have to be 2 of me.
Yeah. Yeah, I spoke to Mark a little while ago and things seem to be
Do you
all
guys
over
see what
the
I just
map, we'll
did?
call it.
Do
Yeah.
you see what I just did there? Alex, you were talking to me.
Oh.
I'm going to mute you.
There we go.
I'm sorry, guys. I couldn't resist. The fact that he responded was even better. I'm sorry, Alex. I couldn't handle. There's sometimes I cannot stop myself. That was one of them.
Business model.
It's business model, right? Okay. So when we're looking through average agent, freedom. So Cheryl, to answer your statement there, to respond to your statement there, freedom. A lot of them don't even, they're not even to the point where they make enough cash. Freedom is completely off their radar, right? Okay. What else do you guys have?
People.
People, yeah, right. People they
Technology.
people they want to leave and people they want to join. 2 different things, right?
I
Technology.
think to piggyback off people, it might be even culture as well.
Okay.
They want to be coached.
Okay.
Opportunity.
And their other brokerage has done something that's pissed them off.
Yeah. Just freaking mad, right? Okay. Anything else that goes on this list, guys?
FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. Sure. Okay.
In my case, I was looking for solutions, tech solutions.
Okay. So we had one person said tech, so let's just do
I
tech
didn't see that.
solutions. Okay. Sure. Okay, so guys, here's the thing. Let's distill this down into a couple of simple categories. I can give you 3 right out of the gate, and I think what you'll find is most of these will fit into one of these 3. One is they want to stop something from happening, stop doing something, stop seeing something, stop being part of something, stop altogether. Sometimes it's just like, I just want out of the situation that I'm in. Okay, the situation I'm in does not work for me. And a lot of times what we'll find is we bring them over to our side and the situation we have them in doesn't work for them either. Because it takes them a little while to figure out that it's not the situation they're in that's the problem. It's the fact that they are the problem and they haven't figured that out. So sometimes we can get them to see that it's not them stopping doing what they're doing or stopping being where they're being or wanting them get out of the situation they're in. It's them. Okay, getting somebody to acknowledge their responsibility and stuff makes all the difference in the world. So a study was done on inmates when they come out of jail. So you think Shawshank Redemption, guys? Okay. Remember that guy in Shawshank Redemption? It's like he comes out and he doesn't even know what to do with himself. He ends up hanging himself. Okay, because he had been institutionalized. He had no idea how to function in the real world. So what happens is we got a lot of these real estate agents that come out of businesses and they're institutionalized. They're used to people telling them what to do and so forth. So it's really a challenge for real estate agents as they start trying to build their own business. A lot of them have never been their own boss. No, they've never had a scenario where nobody was telling them what to do. So for them, a lot of times it's like a lot of stuff that they're doing or not doing is just because they just have no idea how to run and survive in this environment, just like that guy from Shawshank Redemption. The other thing that they did is they'd run some studies on inmates. When the inmates came out, what they found is that typically in most scenarios, nationally, US based, about 45% of inmates that got out ended up back in. They call it recidivism. They end up back in jail, right? For one reason or another. Some of them are just like, I don't know how to function out here. So they do something else stupid, or they get out and they go back into the environment that created the problem in the first place. And they go right back to where they were before. If you take a drug addict that's clean for 10 years and put them in a drug environment consistently on a day-to-day basis, there's a really high chance they're going to end up back in that deal. That's why people people that are stopping drinking have to stay out of the bar. It's really hard for a person that's an alcoholic to stay out of the bar. If they're in the bar, it's really challenging. They're putting themselves in a really crappy spot. Okay, so what happens with inmates is they started figuring out that they had the ability to coach these people through and lower that number. And what they found is that the people that consistently acknowledged that they created the problem that got them in there in the first place, when they got the people that actually said, yes, this was me, this was on me, I did this, admitting their guilt, admitting their role in that, not blaming society, not blaming their family, not blaming their neighborhood, not blaming their brother, not blaming their drug dealer, not blaming the husband, the wife, and whoever else made them do whatever they did. When they accepted responsibility, that number after the fact dropped down to 10%. The other thing that was really key for them is they got the people that were coming out to start thinking like an entrepreneur. If they could get them thinking like an entrepreneur, which was, I am in control of my destiny, I am building my business, me, I am my business. I'm responsible for myself. Myself is a business. My business has a number of different responsibilities, including one of them earning income. Okay. Another responsibility for me is taking good care of my wife. Another responsibility for me is taking care of our home and taking care of our dogs and do all the other things that we do, right? By the way, taking care of you guys. Okay. You're on my list. You're all my babies. You're my family. My job is to take care of you guys, right? So that's the way I act, because I really feel like you guys are my family. Okay. So with that said, when they got the people to start thinking of themselves as an entrepreneur and as a business, the return rate to jail for those people went down to 10%. Okay. So when we're looking at some of these people that want that stop, want that out, getting them to understand what their responsibility is in that situation, what their responsibility is for them to actually move the ball. It is not the company's job to do the deals. It's not the company's job to hand you the deals. It's not the company's job to close the deals. If we could do all of that, we wouldn't need you. Okay, so we've got to get them to say, yes, my success is my responsibility. So can you imagine a conversation now, Alan, as you're talking to some of these people with your style and your way of doing things? You could ask the question to them. Do you think it's the company's responsibility to make you successful, or is it your responsibility to be successful regardless of what company you're with? See, now you shift the conversation. The ones that say it's my responsibility, great. Then we're going to build a system that helps you live that out and be successful doing that. It is you. It's on you. We can't do it for you. Okay. So that's the person stop, out, change, shift. Okay. So when we look at these people over here, let's put a little label next to them. Okay. Pain, stop. Bored, stop.
Change.
Underappreciated, they want that to stop. They want to make more money, to do something. Networking, freedom, model, people, tech solutions, coach, opportunity, mad, stop. Okay. So you can see there's different parts and pieces of things that people want to stop happening. Okay, so that's one category. The next one is change or shift. I like to use shift because a lot of people don't like change, but they're good with shift. If I could shift you to, if we could shift your business so that you got, if we could shift and we could shift and we could shift, okay, now would that work for you? So they want to stop doing something, change something, or exit from doing something. They want to shift doing something. And the third one is leveling up. Okay, so this is very similar to what we talk about with brokerages, right? When we're talking to a broker, why would a broker want to even have a conversation? Well, some of them are saying, like, I want out, get me out of this business. I'm done doing this. I don't want to be a broker anymore. I don't want to run this anymore. This isn't what I thought it was, or this isn't working like it used to, or the world changed and I'm just not getting along with it, or I've been doing this for 40 years. I'm sick of it. Or if you could give me a check and get me out, I'd take that now and run. That's somebody that wants out, stop something, or they just want out, right? The other person thinking about moving brokerage or large team is somebody saying, hey, I want to shift. I don't want to do it like this anymore. Okay. I don't want to do it like this anymore. Whether it's for the people that don't have enough money is I'm tired of being poor. I'm tired of scuffling. I'm tired of trying to find every deal. Money. I need to make more money doing this. I need to shift so that I can make more money doing this. Once you get to the point where you've got real money like Cheryl has, you've already got your Mercedes and you look cool and all that stuff. Once you got all that, then Cheryl's more interested in time. Right? She's like, if I can keep making the same amount of money and I can have more time, more freedom, more evenings off, more weekends off, less distractions, more focus, the ability to actually not have to be on call all day, all the time. That is a shift that someone like Cheryl would probably say, you know what? I do want to talk about that. I would like to talk about that. Cheryl made the move to and stays with EXP because of the freedom that she's setting herself up for the future, because then she can shift from having to grind house, deal after deal after deal after deal, and people with those deals. She wants to be able to shift that to just have the people component and have more control over her time and schedule. Is that accurate, Cheryl?
Completely 1000%.
Okay, pretty good guess. So I've met her. All right, so that's shift. So either want stop or out of something, or shift, or a combination of both. And then the last one is level up. It's like, I'm doing pretty okay, or I'm doing fairly good here, but I'd like to level up. And that's where you start getting coached. Okay, so coached would be level up. Tech solution would be leveled up. People culture, it's like, hey, I'm in an office. I'm the top producing person. Now where do I go? You go somewhere that's a bigger ocean, and you can become a small fish in a big. You come over to EXP. Trust me, most people are going to be a way smaller fish in a way bigger ocean. Did you know the amount of people that are depressed at Harvard University is astronomical? Some 75+% of people at Harvard say at one point or another they were either substantially depressed or severely depressed. And the reason why is every single one of them came out of these schools and they were the valedictorian. They were the smartest person in every classroom. And then they get in a room with a bunch of other people that are just as smart as them, and they don't feel super smart and special anymore. They feel average or less than average. And then they realize it really comes down to who's willing to hustle their ass off. The smart one that's willing to hustle their ass off is the one that really wins in the Harvard game. And some people start realizing, I'm never going to hustle like that. I'm that smart, but I'm never going to hustle like that. And they just get pissed and depressed. Okay. So sometimes this people culture, I want to surround myself with a culture that is, or a people that is, okay. Model is going to be a level up. I believe this model gives me the ability to level up. Freedom, I will have higher levels of freedom. Not working, this is going to be a pain stop. Okay. More cash, that's a level up. Change so that you have a better environment to be more successful. That's a level up. Higher levels of ambition. That's a level up. Okay, so do you see how almost all of these fit into one of these three categories? And your job is to figure out which one they fit into and then sell them that, right? Guys, how much have I told you about how amazing EXP is yet? Okay. See how many times I mentioned EXP so far? No. Does this sound like this conversation line that I'm talking through actually makes it literally all about them and what they're trying to do? And how do we exfoliate that? Okay, it completely shifts the conversation. And trust me, I love Tom, and Tom is highly successful, and he has found his path, and his recipe freaking works for him. Okay. And I also know that not all of the time it is about the person. It is much more about EXP versus the person. Now, he's gotten a lot better at making it about the person and EXP, but there are people, guys. I had this guy, we were at EXPCon, and the guy's like, I want to shoot a video with you. I said, okay, cool. You and I are going to shoot a video, and you can't say EXPCon once or EXP once. And he's like, hey, that's fine. No big deal. He's like, blah, 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 blah. And I said, tell me what you love about your business. Man, EXP is, all right, stop. Okay, tell me Tell me what you love about your business. What do you love the most right now in the real estate world? Man, I'm doing this, this, and this, and EXP is giving me the bit. Here's the deal, guys. For the people that aren't in EXP, that one mention of it, that one time, and even passing, is what potentially shuts them completely off. So if you've got one of those people, it's like flipping the light switch off. You have now zero chance of having any more conversation, having them pay attention at all. Okay. That's, Cheryl's just like, holy shit, that just blows your mind, right? So for some of them, that just shuts them down, right? We all have those things, right? So between my wife and I, been married 29 years, okay? So, 25 of them happily. We're not going to mention which ones weren't, right? But there are things that I can do or say that instantly just stop, right? There are things that she can do or say that just shut me off, okay? That's normal, okay? Guys, we don't have to be everything to everyone. Eeyore had a whole pile of freaking Eeyores around him. The problem with him being Eeyore is he freaking hated being Eeyore. You know why Eeyore was so sad and grumpy all the time, guys? He had a thumbtack in his ass. Sorry, bad dad joke. Tony, don't do that next week, okay? Bad dad joke. You see a little thumbtack holding his tail on, right? But so the thing is like, if Eeyore was happy, and he's just happy being his Eeyore self, then cool, man, roll with it. But if he's not happy doing that, he's gonna have to make some adjustments, right? So you've got to find your people and find your flavor. And if you can get to the core of which one of these it is, and you just ask them, it's like, what are you trying to do? Like, if you could have ideal 10 years from now, what do you want your business to look like? That's going to start getting them thinking and future pacing. It's like, where are they at now? If you keep doing what you're doing now, is that going to get, are you going to get there? Shoot. Wait a minute. So if I keep eating the way I'm eating, I am not going to be my target weight in 10 years? Nope. Nope. Okay. So with that said, is the plan that I'm implementing, the things that I'm doing, most likely or not likely to get me there? If it is, great. Keep doing what you're doing. And by the way, Alan, sometimes you ask somebody, it's like, hey, tell me about your business. What's working? What's not working? And they're like, nah, man, things are good. What would you change? Not much, man. I'm really loving what I'm doing. Somebody asked me that the other day. It's like, Russ, what would it take for you to leave EXP? A check would have to be astronomical. Right? Because like, why do I want to go? Like, do I make enough money? I could make more. I have made way more in the past, but I really love what I'm doing right now. Okay. So how do you beat somebody that really loves what they're doing? It's freaking hard, right? Because I really like it. Okay. So you've got to get to these people and figure out like which one of these three things are going to be most applicable to them. And guys, sometimes the answer is nothing. And when somebody says nothing, that doesn't mean never. That just means not now. So a lot of times we take this no, we're like, nope, they said no. I'm like, they said not now. Somebody says no, I read not now. Because here's the thing. You've got an eagle and he's got his favorite tree and he's got his nest in there and he raises little babies in there and he's king of that freaking tree. Everything's fine. If you ask that eagle, hey, do you want a different tree? Like, why? I got this one broke in. I raised a family here. Lake's right over there. Got everything I need at my fingertips, right? And then you're like, okay, cool. Well, then the forest burns down. Now does the eagle want a different tree? Right? Or the tree gets hit by lightning. Now does the eagle want a different tree? Yeah. Or the storm goes blowing through and rips all the branches off. Does the eagle want a different tree? Yeah. Or the tree gets transplanted somewhere that they don't want to be. Does now maybe there's opportunity for the eagle? I didn't move this tree. I don't want this tree to move here. Okay. So things change in their brokerage. We had a brawl over $5. Guys, can you imagine having a fight for 6 months consistently with 550 people over $5? Company decided they were going to add this little sign rider thing that's called City 24/7, and it would be added to every listing of every agent in the company. And the company was only going to charge $5 for the privilege of using that. None of the agents suggested it. None of them asked for it. None of them wanted it. And we had brawl after brawl after brawl after brawl after brawl after brawl after brawl. I had people sit down and say, if you bring up that $5 one more time, I'm going to hand you $5 right now until you turn around and go back out the door. I'm sick of having this conversation about $5. And the agents were just mad. And they stayed mad for a really long time, over $5 freaking. Okay. So are there things that get people, here it is right here, mad. You'll be shocked and surprised what some people will get mad about. As soon as you move their cheese. Okay. So Alan, do you feel better about doing it your way?
Absolutely.
Find your way, find your flavor, find the people that fit that mantra for you. So for some of you guys, you're going to be great with tech. And for the people like, oh yeah, I want to talk. You're like, you want to talk tech to me? Like you could have the best tech thing in the world. I'm like, I'll watch you. You go do it. Have fun, right? I have no desire to play with anything tech. You're like, you want a CNC for your wood shop rush? You could do wave cool. Nope, don't want it. If it's attached to a computer, try to avoid it. Okay. People, culture, model, freedom. There's different things that people are attracted to, and you got to find out what's their thing, and then go after that. Good.
Thank you.
So, questions, Alan?
No, it's crystal clear.
See, I think a lot of our coaching, right? A lot of people that are shifting and want to be coached or coached differently, like there's different styles of coaches that coach different stuff, right? There's coaches that are playing the transaction thing. There are coaches that coach on lead generation and conversion and just play in the numbers game. There are coaches that coach on relationship. There are coaches that coach on building culture. There's coaches that coach on building out systems. There's all different kinds of coaches, and you got to figure out which coach is the best fit for you. So I have people say, I did coaching one time and it didn't work for me. Well, it wasn't that didn't work for them. It worked for a bunch of other people. It's just not the right style coaching for that person. So if you are a relationship style person and you're being taught and managed to transactional, it becomes a problem. So I'm being managed more transactional currently than I used to, that I'm normally used to. And for me, that's very, very frustrating and aggravating, because I'm not the just the number. Can I do it? Sure. I built my own systems doing it in a previous brokerage and had all the systems and the metrics and had all the spreadsheets and the conversion numbers and all of that stuff. I can tell you exactly what every single person did every single month and what the results were and what the conversions were on every single one of them. Is that my natural set point? No. Did I enjoy the heck out of that? No. So when given the opportunity, not my normal way to do it. I'd rather talk about the people part. So you got to find which one works best for you. Good. Questions. Open forum. Hope that was valuable to you guys. Just a different perspective.
Super valuable. I might be in number 3 though. Pigeonholed me in number 2.
Yeah, so you can see that, but you caught on earlier said it could be a combination, right? So I did say it could be a combination, not you specifically, but yeah, no, you are, but you are level up too. Sure, absolutely, I can totally see that, because you're trying to level up the game and shift the game long term. Good. Questions? What else you got? Steve Pugh, you got a question?
Oh, why do I have that look on my face, Russ?
Well,
that questioning look on my face.
You got
right?
to eat. You got to eat. You filled your belly, and now you got to have questions, right?
Hey, brother.
Good afternoon. Good
afternoon. How are you, brother?
I'm pretty good. I'm in that couple of days.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good, man. You always bring the information, Russ, and I appreciate that. So let's say you can zone in on the fact that somebody wants to level up. What are you bringing up to them in terms of EXP, or am I looking at it wrong?
I'm not. I still haven't. For me personally, I still haven't got to EXP yet.
With me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. You're not hearing us very well, I think. You're breaking up a little bit. Okay. So the question was, if somebody wants to level up, what are you bringing to them from EXP? Or what would you bring them from EXP? Well, first off, the question I'm going to start with to find that out is where are you at now? Where do you want to be? And how do you plan on getting there? If I can show you 2 or 3 things that'll help you get there, is that what you want to talk about? They say yes. Now I got buy-in. Great. Let me show you a couple of tools that you might appreciate that would help you get there. Okay, so for some of them, it's going to be more education. For them, some of them, it's going to be coaching. For some of them, it's going to be associating with a different group, a different team, and a different people, and a different system with different opportunities. For other people, it's going to be technology shift. There are a certain level of technology you just have to do in this business. Otherwise, it makes it really freaking hard. It makes it 1,000 times harder if you don't use base technology stuff reasonably well. Okay, so we got to figure out what those are. So my first question, guys, for every single real estate agent, every single time is, are you working your sphere of influence? Yeah, right. Guys, the answer is no most of the time when you really back them into a corner, right? Do you guys know what the statistic is for sphere of influence conversion?
Like 25%.
What was that, Russ?
Do you know what the conversion rate is for sphere of influence typically?
10, isn't it 10? Database and SOI 10%?
Right around 10% plus or minus. Okay. If you've got a really small sphere of influence, that number can go up. But once you get to a normal, reasonably normal sphere of influence, somewhere in the 180 to 220 is a very normal size sphere of influence. 10% is a very good number. That's considered a good solid conversion. That means you're doing a good job of adding value to them and being seen by them and not ostracizing and alienating by trying to sell the crap out of them. So if you're top of mind and in the flow with them and adding value consistently, you can convert your sphere at around 10%. Okay. Do you guys know what lead generation online is closing at?
2.
What was that?
2.
I bet 1%.
So across the industry, you get quoted 2%. The people that are selling you stuff are quoting you 2% on a regular basis. NAR did a study about 3 months, 4 months, 5 months ago recently, and their response back was between 0.8 and 1.2% conversion.
Yeah,
we're getting duped, Russ.
So on average, when you take, now keep in mind, you're saying, well, Russ, why is there a range? Well, some people are using realtor.com, some people are using Zillow, some people are using, right? Across the board, they basically say right around plus or minus 1% is pretty much all of them. So here's the rub. That's 1%, and that's 1% over 12 months. That's not 1% in the first month. So you'd be like, well, Russ, I'll just make 100 contacts and I'll get one closing. No. Okay. So here's the rub with real estate agents. It's typically more like 0.25% in the first 30, 60 days. First 30, 60, 90 days, around 0.25, right? Which means you got to go through 400 leads to get one viable closing. Do you understand why a lot of real estate agents are going after leads and they're getting handed leads and they feel like they're banging their head against the wall? So I'll ask them, Tony, do you feel like you're banging your head against the wall and going nowhere? They're like, yes. Because the thing is, they have to bang their head on that wall for 3 or 4 months just to get to that one person. Because they're not getting 400 leads in a month. They're getting 100 or 50. If they're getting 50, that means they're going to go 8 months before they get to 400. So do you see why these systems over time, they can pay off and the numbers game can pay off, but your typical real estate agent across the board, the majority of the people that you guys meet are not working their sphere of influence consistently, and they're certainly not getting a 10% return on their sphere of influence. So if you guys want to actually move the ball, first thing I would do with them, Stephen, is say, hey, how are you doing working your sphere of influence? And then they'll say, well, so do you understand why it's that important to do that? You should be getting around a 10% return from your sphere of influence. Yeah, or 3 to 5 years to convert a lead. Sure, absolutely, Debbie. So with your sphere of influence, you're building credibility and you're building value with them. You're building professional and personal credibility. Most agents will say they're not doing that. That's the simplest solution in the world. Give them and show them a couple different ways we can work that more effectively and get them up to 10% on that. That's our first step. By the way, that's damn near free. So if you can get to 20 sales in a year without spending more than a couple dollars, would that be something you'd want to learn? If I could show you how to do that, would that be a game changer for you? Stephen, if you are now going from 3 or 4 sales or 5 sales a year and getting to 20 sales in a year, would that make a difference in your world?
Absolutely, Russ. Yeah.
And do this with people, guys, because most of the agents don't do this and don't know this. What is your income goal? Almost all the time, guys, you're going to hear 100K. Sometimes you'll hear 2 and 3, depending on what market you're in, but 90+% of the time, you're going to $100,000. Okay, got it. Great. What's your average sales price or median sales price in your market? A lot of times they don't know. Now you can tell them. National average is around 380,000 or so, plus or minus. Okay, 380. which means on your typical commission for your typical sale is going to be right around 10 grand. That's your typical commission for a normal sale in the United States right now. Make adjustments for your local market. Okay. So here's the deal. How many people do you have in your sphere of influence, Stephen, that you have name, address, phone number, email address for? If I forced you to make a list, number one, do you have a list? The answer is no, almost all the time. If they say they do, great. Can you show it to me right now? The answer is no. Because I call BS sometimes. They'll be like, oh, do you have your sphere of influence list together? Oh, yeah. Good, great. Can't show it to me. Well,
Hmm.
All right, guys, we've done this thousands of times. This is where I learned this stuff. Banged my head on this 1,000. I had hair when I started banging my head on this stuff. Right. Okay. So 10K, your typical sales price in your market, which means your typical sphere of influence guys, they should have between 180 and 200 people in their sphere of influence. That would be considered a normal person. These are all the people you know. Like if they happen to belong to a big church, that number can go through the roof. If they happen to be big in triathlon, their number can go through the roof. If they happen to be big in riding mountain bikes in Florida, Swamp Mountain Biking Club, by the way, Cheryl, 700 members.
Oh,
How's that for a surprise? So if you can get friendly with 700 of those people and they're all just like you, right? That's a great way to build a business, right? So when we start pinning them down and they say, well, I don't have 180, Russ. Great. So let's get you doing some things that you love so that you can start meeting some people. And when you meet them, they're going to ask you this question. Hey, Russ, what do you do for a living? And I say something like, I'm a real estate agent. And then they ask me what?
How's the market, Russ?
Exactly. Right. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to answer that question really well and capitalize on that. And you're going to add 5 people to your sphere every week, which means 20 in a month, 240 in a year. And then we're going to get that conversion rate up, 20 sales at 10 grand a pop. And we're going to have you on track for 200K. So here's the fun part. You said you only wanted 100. If you half donkey this, you're going to be at 100.
show them.
Okay. How much EXP have I said?
0.
This isn't about EXP. For me, I don't make it about EXP. I make it about them. Okay. Cheryl, do you think you'd have a better shot at hitting this if you were aligned with me?
Yes.
So guys, here's the shift, right? The shift we're talking about a lot of times isn't selling them on EXP, isn't convincing them about EXP, isn't explaining EXP. It's showing them a path to where they can actually get their goal doing something that makes sense to them. You'll notice we didn't talk about cold calling or calling FSBOs or sitting in open houses or doing expireds or doing door knocking, all the stuff that agents run from. Are there some that can do it? Sure. Are there some that are good at it? Sure. Do any of them love it? One here, one there. Are they willing to do it because they're starving to death? Yes. It's amazing what you can get a starving human to do. But that doesn't mean they want to do it. That doesn't mean they want to keep doing it, right? So if I could show you a way to stop doing that nonsense and just build your business by working your sphere and doing more things that you love, would you like to see how to do that? And guys, listen, a huge number, 90% of them will say, yes, I do. Yes, I will. Please, God, show me that. You see the difference? Still not about EXP. Oh, yeah. By the way, if you want to do that, you're going to have to be over here to do that. Is that acceptable for you? Bing. Hit the join button. Oh, yeah. You want to talk about commission? This commission doesn't come up in this, right? It doesn't matter because the ultimate goal is you got to get their brain off of commission. You got to get their brain off of tools. You got to get their brain off technology. Because here's the thing, guys, our competition is brainwashing them that all this stuff and bullshit is absolutely imperative for them to have to make their business run. They brainwashed them into the fact that they need that. They got to have this brand. When in fact, it has nothing to do with the brand. It has everything to do with who do you know, who knows you, who do you have credibility with? And if you do, they don't give a rat's ass what kind of card you have. They don't care what colors you have. They don't care about your logo or your location or anything. They're just like, I just want that funny bald-headed Russ dude to give me my tour guide and show me how to get there. Good news is we got Steven and we got Donald. Like, we could just swap people. All those bald white dudes look the same anyway. So do you see how we're telling the story different? And guys, I'm showing you my recipe on this one. Okay.
Okay.
Are there other things that work really well? Uh-huh. Are other things worked really well 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago? Yep. Are they still working really well today? Not so much. You know, guys, used to be you could have a room and say, hey, we're going to talk about making more money in the real estate business. Show up. And you could do a 45-minute or so EXP explained lunch and learn. They had no idea what they were showing up for. And you sandbagged them like they were going to one of those timeshare lunches. They do a timeshare lunch stuff. And guys, that worked a bunch. Shoot, 3/4 of Texas was built out that way, Tony. They were doing 15 lunch and learns a day in San Antonio back in the day. Now nobody will show up for anything unless they know exactly what you're doing because they're all suspicious as hell. They're like, I'm not showing up to anything I'm not going through that. Don't put me in that headlock again. Right now that everybody knows, most people know what EXP is. They don't know what it really means to them. And that's where the problem is. People are trying to explain what EXP is, but they're not showing people what it means to them. Let me show you what this would mean to you. This would mean to you, you're now generating $200,000. If you half-ass it, you're at 100. If you quarter-ass it, you're at 50. You're still ahead. If you made 200 grand in the next year, Tony, versus making 30, would that change some stuff for your family? Would that change the trajectory of your family? To give you the ability to actually have more money than you need every month? Have the ability to invest in yourself, have the ability to set up a 401k or some type of long-term retirement thing, have the ability to set up other personal investments, have the ability to take a day or a week or a month off, have the ability to go on vacation, not have to make every decision based on dollars. Does that sound like something you'd want?
Yes. Where do I sign?
Yeah. So where did EXP come in on that? Guys, listen, I'm not against EXP. Like, geez, Russ, you're like anti-sell. No, I'm just simply saying keep it in this right spot, right? They're not buying EXP, they're buying what it does for them. And if you get past the tool and what the tool does, think of it like this, guys. I have a hammer. What can you do with a hammer? You can build stuff or you can destroy stuff. So the question is, what do you need the hammer for, Tony? Tony says like, hey, I need a hammer. Great. What are you going to use it for? There's a different hammer for building something than there is for tearing something down. Okay. So we got to get really clear on what they want, the tool, what they want, and then make sure we get the right tool for them. I've got a little tap jeweler's hammer. I've got a little rubber headed one. I've got a little urethane headed one. I've got a brass hammer. I've got a sledgehammer. I've got multiple sledgehammers. I've got a hammer that has an axe on the other side of it. Okay. So you got to find the right tool for them. Say, what do you need to do? What are you trying to do? And then give them the tool, show them the tool that helps them get that. It's about what it does for them. If you shift to what it does for you, you get results often.
Russ, quick question.
Yes.
When somebody responds with, oh, I want to, obviously, we don't want to entertain somebody that's just chasing leads and jumping from brokerage to brokerage, right? But let's say somebody wants to, how can we help you? Well, we can help with leads. What do you fall back on? Just KV Core, making it rain, property boost, squeeze pages.
So I redirect them right back to their sphere first. So what is your conversion on your sphere of influence currently?
Okay, got it.
So here's the fun part, right? I'm gonna so here's how I'll present it when they start getting pushy on that. I'm sitting down with a piece of paper, or if I'm on Zoom, you know me, Russ doesn't go anywhere without a whiteboard. I'm gonna be away for a week. I wonder if my whiteboard's gonna miss me when I'm gone. Does my whiteboard think about me when I'm not here? I don't know. Those are the questions I have, right? I'm gonna do this, Stephen. Okay, you asked me about leads, yes?
Yep.
Why do you want leads?
To help sell more houses.
You want more closings, right? So ultimately for you need more houses equals more dollars. Okay. So let me show you 3 numbers: 10%, 1%, 0.25%. If you were going to focus on something that had 10%, 1%, or 0.25% return, which one would you focus on first as a business person?
10%.
Okay, good. So the first thing we need to do is we need to make sure that you are doing everything you can to work your sphere of influence properly, not alienate your friends. You're not going to be bugging them. You're not going to be cold calling them. We're going to add value so often in the right way for things that they want to see and need to see that we're going to get that conversion up to 10% in about, it's going to take about 12 months to do it. But we'll get your sphere cracking at around 10% over the next 12 months. Because we got to build professional credibility and personal credibility. And when we do that and add value and we're in the flow with our people, you get conversions around 10%. Okay. So here's the fun part. Even if you half-ass it, you're at 5. So if you had a choice to be at 5%, 1%, or 20.25%, which one would you take?
5.
Okay. So if you quarter-ass it.
Quarter-ass it?
Yeah, you half-ass something, you can quarter-ass it. That's doing half of a half-ass job. Okay, that's a Russism, by the way. You're welcome to use that.
Thank you.
If you quarter-ass it, you're at 2.5%. So if you had a 2.5% conversion, 1% conversion, or 0.25 conversion, what should you do?
2.5.
Okay, so are you sure you want to do lead generation? You want to learn how to work your sphere properly.
I want to learn how to work my sphere. I'm
So-
going to use that. I'm going to go back and look at the recording. If I'm sitting with somebody and just bang it out like that. Huh?
Even if it's producing at 1/4 of what a good job is, it's still outperforming the lead generation that people are brainwashed into thinking this lead generation thing is going to fix their problem. It's not going to fix their problem. It's going to make them work their ass off on something that doesn't work that great. Listen, I will be the first to admit, if you work this stuff well over time and you have massive amounts of it, it can convert at a massive number. But you got to have 10,000 people coming in to get a 1% return versus 100 people coming in to get 10 sales, right? So we got to start looking at the math and looking at the metrics, and your average agent really needs to be working their sphere first. And by the way, most of that you can do for free. And then if you want, we can introduce you to OpCity, and there's ways of generating leads yourself in KV Core for free. And there's also relocation through the affinity programs and through Revenos, and there's also REO certification, and there's also express offers, which you could utilize to actually do proactive marketing, saying we can get you an offer on your home in 24 hours or less. There's a bunch of different things that you can do that can generate that stuff, but most of that's going to convert it way lower than 2.5%. So you should probably work the sphere stuff first, don't you think? Do you see a lot of agents are frustrated? They're not working on the right stuff.
Yeah.
And then they're aggravated. And it's like, are you feeling stressed out and frustrated? Is this not what you thought it was? This isn't what I thought it was. Man, I'm working my ass off. I feel like I'm going nowhere. Does that sound like you? And they're like, oh my gosh, like you read my mind, Russ. Oh yeah, you think? See where we're going? All right, guys, we all got to jump. I actually have to record
Thank
something
you,
on the
Russ.
clock, so we got to roll. I'll drop this in the workplace so you guys can watch the replay of this. Okay?
Please.
Fun
Thank
stuff.
you, Russ.
All right, guys.
An amazing vacation, Ross. Enjoy.
Yes.
Well deserved.
Have a good one, guys. I'll
Your
see you soon.
whiteboard will be thinking about you, Russ.